Let's do some monitoring stuff and talk about that a little bit. Okay, so what do I mean by monitoring? let's set a little bit of a ground floor here or whatever, a shared expectation. So with monitoring, you know, it's easy to forget when you're writing an app that it's not just code, right? Like I'm writing this code, I'm shipping that code to GitHub or whatever, and it's like, that's your app. It's the code in GitHub, right? But of course, that's not your actual app. Your actual app is this running container or whatever it is that's running on some computer somewhere in the cloud. Or maybe if you have a home lab, it's running in your house, you know? And that service that's running and keeping track of and maintaining that is a skill set all of its own. And I like to think of a running service as almost like a living thing. You know, it's like it needs care, it needs maintenance, it needs attention. And it's not always going to work the way that you expect it to, right? So, having said all that, one of the most important things when you're actually running an app in a production setting, especially, is observability. So, what this means is the code might look like it should work, but do you know whether the app itself is actually working? Do you know whether users are having problems? How many users do you have? What are they doing? Is the app nearing any limits or thresholds that you need to be aware of, like disk space usage, etc.? How much is it going to cost you, to continue to run it? Are you earning enough to like make back the cost of running the app? Stuff like that, right? You got to know all that. Now, for a side project like this one, my expectations for monitoring are lower. I'm not necessarily going to need to know because I don't really have, I have no SLA. There's no guarantee that this app is going to be continuing to run. SLA, by the way, that stands for service level agreement. If you're not familiar, if you actually have a company, usually you have a service level agreement with your customers where you say our app is going to be up or is going to be working for the core functionality that you need 99.95% of the time or something like that. For this, there is no SLA. And in fact, I can almost guarantee that eventually, some number of years in the future, it's going to just stop working one day when I stop paying for it or switch hosting providers or something like that. So we don't necessarily need super granular, accurate monitoring, but we should at least do something. Okay, so when it comes to monitoring and observability, there's kind of a couple different options. Usually there's logging and there's metrics and there's tracing. And sometimes tracing can kind of be incorporated into the other two, but it's sort of a specialized type of thing. And beyond that, maybe some other types of things have like thinking of like Elixir or something like that, where you can actually connect to your running container, open up a basically like a terminal in the process and inspect like the other agents and stuff in that process, the other processes technically, I guess. But, so there you can like observe the actual running of the program using this language specific set of APIs. That's also sometimes a thing. But usually, we're talking logging, we're talking metrics. And once you have logging and metrics, the next step is usually alerts. We're not going to do any alerts.